Welcome to From Cover to Code, the Technology Book Club. Join us as we discuss artificial intelligence, DevOps, software development, cloud computing, and more. With your hosts, Angela Andrews and Michael Jenkins. The next episode of From Cover to Code starts now.
And we are back in the building once again for another episode of From Cover to Code. How are you doing today, Angela?
I am doing. It is a Wednesday kind of Wednesday, and I'm doing my best here.
Okay, well, hang in there.
How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've just got back. I feel like I just got back into town from some travel over the weekend. So even though today is Wednesday, it really feels like a Monday almost to me. So I am ripping and running from one thing to another, sweating as I run into the studio today to get ready for our discussion. But I'm here. I'm ready to go and ready to jump into this.
I love it. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's get into it.
Yeah,
we are back. We are back. We are
Uh,
discussing hands-on Python.
Hands-on Python for DevOps by Anchor Roy is the book that we're covering in this season. We're almost done with this thing.
Yeah, we are. We're landing this plane.
Just about, yeah. We are approaching. We're in descent mode, right? What they call that?
Tray tables up.
Yeah, exactly. Put your seat backs up. Put your tray tables up. You're gonna come along to collect whatever infrastructure as code you got left. You didn't want to, take with you or whatever. I say that because we're talking about infrastructure as code.
Yes, we are.
And MLOps and DataOps, and in this particular discussion, chapters 11 and 12 of the book.
All right.
Yeah. And before we get too far in the material, welcome to everybody. If you're joining us live for the discussion, shout out where you're from. Shout out the MLOps or DataOps or CLIs. I don't know. Just shout out whatever you want.
Just shout us out. That's it. We want to know you there. That's all.
Exactly. It makes it so much more engaging for us to know that you're here rocking with us and join into the discussion. If you got questions, comments, or whatever, bring them and we'll address them as we go.
Fantastic.
So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into chapter 11. I think you, Angela, called out the quote in the last episode, so I'm going to defer to you for the quote for this one, and I'll pick up the quote for chapter 12.
Yes. Okay. So I said it was one of the best comedians of all times. It is George Carlin. Definitely one of the best, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Talking about having your finger on the pulse, like always. And this quote for this chapter is a perfect pairing. So shout out to Anchor Roy for finding something that really embodies what MLOps, DataOps, the whole AI ML wave that we're on. And the quote reads, "The future will soon be a thing of the past." And we are literally in the future right now. We are robots. We are talking computers. We are all the things that we thought were so far off into the future. We are living in it right now. And it's a fabulous time to be in technology. The sheer amount of change that's happening, it's almost like anybody can get on it. Like anybody can join in. It's so ripe for the picking. And, depending on what your role is or what you're doing, you may not have a choice but to embrace AI and ML in your work as in your daily work. So I have to say this quickly. I know quite a few people who are getting the learn ML, learn AI, they're getting, this is the time. So this could be the great differentiator as well. if you
Yeah.
find that what your company is starting to do, it's starting to talk more about AI, ML, it's starting to get its use cases and POCs, it behooves you. I like that word. It
Hmm.
behooves you to get on board, because we all know that the economic climate, the job climate is so tenuous right now. So many people that your friend on LinkedIn, my friend, they are going through
Yeah.
it and unable to find jobs. They can go for months without finding. I think this is what the equalizer is. This will be your differentiator. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people believe that now. So it's very timely that we're kind of going to glance on it. But that quote is so on the nose right now. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
I'm off
indeed.
my high horse, back on solid.
No, that nails it. And the only thing I would add is like the thing of the past part is because AI is moving so fast
Yes.
that even today, if we're in the future, indeed, it's going to be a thing of the past tomorrow because something new is going to come out, and we got to catch up with that. So you got to be on top of the game to even stay up with AI as it is, and the MLOps, DataOps, and so on. But getting into the discussion, one of the first things that I picked up is the author said very early in the chapter, most people in development environments for data usually default to Python these days because the existence of the necessary tools for data processing and analysis. Most effective data ops workloads will use Python in some capacity. And that just resonated with me because anytime I'm picking up data, to work with something, and I mean, I'm a Pythonista at heart, and I lean strongly towards Python, but I'm almost always reaching for Python before I reach for something else. It's just in my nature to say, okay, I'm working with data. Let me go see what I can do with this with Python. So yeah, I totally resonated with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, where do we want to start? We got our quotes, we got our feelings of where the state of these technologies are. Let's just start at the beginning. So
Yep.
he talked about what data ops and ML ops is, and the fact that you mentioned, like, when you talk about tools for manipulating using data, Python is that girl, like
Yeah.
she right
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about, ML ops helping deliver and optimize machine learning models and algorithms. That these are ripe technologies where Python and R and a couple others are really at the center of it. So yeah, the time is so right. I do like the fact that he set the technical requirements back.
Yes, he did.
They're in the beginning of the chapter. He didn't mention, well, I guess he didn't have to. There was one little, oh, we're using this tool again, and it wasn't
Hmm.
mentioned in the technical requirements, but that's a small thing.
Yeah.
You have to have a Google Colab. You can access the code from his GitHub repo. And if you've been following along, or if you're learning Python or use it in your day to day, you probably already have your Python environment set up and a nice
Hmm.
cup of your favorite beverage, which I
Favorite beverage.
have some
Hey, I
mint
got
tea,
mine.
and I am
Water.
absolutely loving it. So yeah, I am totally prepared today. Are you?
Okay,
Are you?
I am ready. Well, I guess I've got
Oh,
Gatorade in a
there you
can.
go.
That's what I'm
There you
sipping
go.
on. And he first started talking about like how do you differentiate ML ops and data ops from regular old DevOps. And I at least in my interpretation of what the author wrote, there was no real major opinion given other than it's like ML ops and data ops is still DevOps, but you're just focused on the machine learning environment or the data itself. And I really liked the way he broke down. We'll get to this in a minute. When you're dealing with data, the 3 V's. I
Yes.
don't want to spoil that if you're following along, you haven't read it yet, or you're spoiler alert. Yeah, we're going to talk about the 3 V's of dealing with data. I really like that discussion, and some of the demos were okay. I thought they were appropriate for what he got into. But yeah, ML ops, data ops, and DevOps, they're all pretty much the same. It's just they are specific and targeted to a certain type of development or a certain type of operation.
It's true.
Yeah. Um, So we can jump right into the first DataOps demo when he
Okay.
he broke down DataOps, MLOps, and then he went into some of the like working with data, the 3Vs demo. In the DataOps, he started out saying that Python has native JSON capabilities built in.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. You know, I guess that is a good thing to know if you're going to be working with data, that you can have, you know, native capabilities of working with different data formats. And I want to say there's a native CSV library built in as well. I have to fact check myself on that. But there's also like the pandas library is just so prevalent in DataOps because it's got so many capabilities built into the library itself. You import pandas and you got tons of stuff going. It's basically like Excel in your Python script.
Yes.
And you can do all sorts of formulas, data manipulation, work in rows and columns, and you know, all of the sorts of operations you can do with pandas.
Hold your wad because
okay.
Pandas are coming.
Okay, watch out for the pandas.
Yes, it's later in this chapter. It's later in this chapter.
Indeed. Yeah, yes, I think I did make a note for that as well. And I mean, the demo that he gave was using the pipe operator to concatenate data. And I thought that was kind of simple. I mean, it's a good demonstration of how, you know, you can natively work with data.
Yes.
And so it was a kind of very quick one-off way to demonstrate some data ops.
In
I would
its
hope for
simplicity, I thought it was appropriate. Pertinent and useful.
Yeah. I mean, again, for me, I wanted a little bit more, but I thought it was good. Yeah. I would have dived a little bit deeper into that. But again, you know, I'm not writing a book on Python for DevOps. So if that's what he wanted to share, that's Anchor Roy's prerogative.
But should you?
I probably should. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to leave that there.
Yeah. Save that for next time. All right. The MLOps demo, he talked about overclocking a GPU. And I thought it was an interesting use case.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of like the Python there, it was a script runner. You know, it was like a script wrapper.
Exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't too much. It wasn't a good demonstration of what Python could do in this particular space.
It was one of those examples where the tool is right there. Mm-hmm. It's right there. And yeah. But he used it as a wrapper to go ahead and call the NVIDIA CLI program. Yeah. And at the very end, when you wanted to undo, you know, turn off overclocking, it was basically back to the NVIDIA tool to.
Yeah, he just ran the command
exactly
straightforward. Yeah.
So
yeah, the two things that I guess the notes that I have for this particular demo or discussion, he used the subprocess library to run the NVIDIA command. Okay, I thought that was cool because you demonstrate how you have your Python process running your main script, and then you can run subprocess commands from within that script. So that was cool. I thought it would have been crazy cool if he also used the threading library, which I have used before. Mm-hmm. And basically you can run multi-threaded sub processes from your Python script. Okay. So if you could set it up so that you're on your system, use I'm trying to think of some of the other libraries. I can't recall right off the top of my head, but get information about the system that you're running on, determine how many CPUs or GPUs you have, and then overclock specific ones and then target those with a thread. That would have been a crazy, like, you know, substantial example, I think.
So put a pin in it.
Oh yeah. Second edition.
Second edition.
Yeah. Anchor, you can have that one for free.
This second edition is going to be fire.
Yeah, it's going to be lit, I will tell you.
So are we now at the 3Vs?
The 3Vs. Yeah, that was the next one. Dealing with velocity, volume, and variety. And I will quote the author, and he says, the three ways in which the complexity of data can scale are velocity, volume, and variety. Each of these represents a singularly unique problem when dealing with data, where velocity is the speed of data coming in over a period of time, volume is the amount of data, and variety is the diversity of the data being presented. And I mean, I've got notes on each one of these, but I'll pause there to see if you had any.
I don't have a lot of notes other than when like reading the section that you just mentioned, um, the fact that Python is a great data tool when it comes to big data and being able to
Mhm.
parse and move through. When I think big data, in my personal experience, I think Splunk. I think
Mhm.
reading logs. I think like
Yeah.
just trying to find a needle in a haystack. And the fact that Python is such a great tool to be able to parse, basically parsing data. Like
Mhm.
I'm not a data scientist, but to do something the simplest way possible, it's usually just picking up a Python script to do what you need to do. Now, I do like this first example. We're back to using Mockaroo,
Mhm.
which is a site that helps you build kind of like just data, just
Mhm.
what are we calling data sets, and
Yeah,
you can
data
pick how
sets.
much data, you can pick what the data looks like, um, and the data set that the author produced isn't like the screen print above, which I would have liked to have gotten more information, but he did say it was 20
Mhm.
fields. So maybe it's, I haven't, now what I haven't checked is the repo this week. It could
Mm.
very well be there. Because that's absolutely a lot of data. 20 really large fields with 1,000 rows. So
I
um,
did check the repo. I don't think the data is there, but I'm
okay,
going
okay.
to as just Google or take a look at it as you are
Yeah, while
mentioning
you're
that.
following
Um,
along.
yeah, the data's not there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
But yeah, it's all gravy.
All right, that's it. That was
Yeah.
my take on the volume
Yeah.
example.
Well, the
Oh, I
one
didn't
other
talk
thing that
about the script, but I'll let you have it.
yeah, the one thing that I liked about this demo was that he did process a large data set, and the way that he did it was processing the data one row at a time to preserve memory. And that's a trick that I learned years ago in Perl because I mean back 20 years ago we didn't have all the gigs of RAM that we had on systems, so you had to read large sets of data one line at a time, um, and because the system couldn't handle it. If you by default, a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to process this file and like file open file name, and you read all that file content into memory. If you're reading a 4 gig file and you've got 2 gigs of RAM, guess what?
Do the math.
Something's got to give, right? So to get around that, you read one line at a time and you do your processing, and then you hold that result of the processing, which may only be a few gig or a few KB or a few megs at the most or whatever. So that's one way that you can kind of get around these processing big data on a system that has constrained memory. So I really appreciated that he introduced that concept.
Yeah, indeed. I have
All
no
right,
more takeaways.
cool.
This was a not a terrible example
Yeah, yeah,
of
it
the
was appropriate.
power of parsing data. I definitely give it a +1 on that. What about velocity?
Velocity, yeah. So, yeah, for the sake of the discussion, velocity is talking about dealing with streaming data as
Yes.
opposed to batch processing, which you got your CSV file, the data's all there, so you could process it. Either if you got enough RAM, read that all into memory, process it one line at a time, but all the data is present. But with streaming data, that data is coming continuously, and more than likely you're processing it in real time. But you don't know when that data is going to end. It's just always coming. It's streaming. So you have to have techniques that you can process in real time as the data is coming in and generate your analysis basically on the fly. So it was good to I guess differentiate streaming data from batch processing
That was a
data.
good example, to be
Yeah,
honest. So
yeah,
another +1
yeah,
for the
and
examples. I know
yeah.
we've been kind of, no, but this example in particular uh, just shows the power of what you can do. That's more data than you like you said, you don't know when it's going to end. It's constantly coming in. And the fact that not Python has native libraries where you can, well, not native,
Mhm.
but you can install these libraries like Apache Flink, which is a stream and batch processing framework, and then of course pandas.
Yeah,
uh,
pandas. Yeah, and I think this was the one, in this example, he used both Apache Flink and
he
pandas.
did he did
Flink to catch the streaming data, and I guess in this case, the data itself wasn't streaming. It's I will say it's difficult to set up an example that produces streaming data for at scale, you know. So the simple example that he gave, where he just had a JSON piece of data and used Flink to process that JSON, and then Pandas to write it as a CSV table, that was good enough. You know, if you understand the process, then you could apply it to a scenario where you've got actual streaming data coming in. So yeah, so I was happy with that.
Yep, I thought so too.
The one thing I would say, I guess I had a couple notes for the people who may be listening to this in the future. You want to check out this particular chapter. The code was available for chapter 11, but the Flink demo code wasn't in the repo. Just FYI. So if you pick up this chapter and you want to try it out, I had to copy the code from the book to actually mess around with it.
Okay.
So yeah, just you know, watch out for that pothole as you start driving down this chapter.
Okay.
All right, moving on to variety. And as we mentioned, variety is dealing with different types of data. This was an okay demo. I had hoped for a little bit more. Basically, the demo shows how to use UTF-8 encoding to get better results from your data processing. And he used an emoji. He was like, hey, your data could have emojis in it.
Right.
And if you don't encode it properly, the data is going to look like this, which will result in further processing down the line. So that was, yeah, I understand. Okay. What I had hoped for was, particularly from an MLOps perspective, or rather, I guess DataOps more specifically, is using Python to clean data, because there's so many other like tools and capabilities that you have inside Python that you could use when you're getting data that is maybe missing values or has characters that you don't want. Like say if you don't want emojis, then you need to strip all those out. Or if you need to tokenize text to process it down the line, there's all kinds of Python libraries that you could use for that. So I think that might have been a better demonstration of Python's capabilities, but encoding is important. So I'll let it slide for this one.
Yeah. Again, it was a very simple, very simple example. I don't know if I understand the use of Colab for this one.
Yeah, I think he just used it as an interface, to be honest. You could have done the same thing from your CLI.
That's what I was. I maybe he just wanted to introduce it again because it was introduced earlier in one of the chapters. And one of my things was like, oh, we're creating all these accounts for these one-offs. So maybe it was a nod back to, well, let's try it here just to keep the variety going. I won't comment too much on that. As far as the example, it is a solid example, but there's you even mentioned there's a bunch of different examples. So I thought it interesting that he went into a section about ChatGPT. Of course, it was coming. She's always there. She's lurking in the background. And it was almost like, if you don't know, let me explain it to you type of thing. I thought that wasn't bad, but I think it's interesting when he picks his moments to be introductory into certain topics. So again, I'm glad that he did, do that introductory. And there was this line in here that it made me laugh. And no one laughs when they read things like this. I find everything absolutely hysterical. That is the story of my life. One of the lines was, however, the newest LLMs have been made so that they can talk about pretty much anything with slight knowledge specialization in certain fields. And I thought about my time on this other podcast where I just knew a little bit about a whole bunch of things. And it was like, I am my own LLM. I can just talk about anything. It doesn't matter what the topic is. I could probably add some context. And that made me laugh. So yes, I laugh at some of the stupidest things. And I put a little smiley face in here because I thought it was.
That's good. That's good.
But good analogy. Good analogy that he wrote.
Yeah, I appreciate that he brought it in. And I mean, I think it attributes itself to the quote that he used at the beginning of this chapter, talking about the future is going to be the past. Because when he mentions this at the time that this book was written, he was talking about chat or he's talking about GPT 3.5.
Yes,
And we're so many more models ahead of
yes,
that time. And I mean, AI is changing so fast. Who knows what an update of this book, like what version we will be on then.
exactly.
So this was like, I think the best place to kind of bring that quote home to say, hey, if you're working on it now, it's probably going to be out of date down the road. So
How
you know what?
about that?
You got to stay up to date.
So the idea of capturing technology, this is just a weird little aside I'm going to take. The
Mhm,
idea of capturing technology topics in books, right? He
mhm.
wrote this book and he was referencing a particular version, and now where we are maybe 2 or 3 years later, we're way beyond that. Do you think this medium will become less prevalent as we move forward since technology is moving really fast? Do you think authors will be less inclined to give us this because it's like, it's going to be out of date in no time? Like, what are your thoughts on that? I know that's an aside, but
Yeah, it's total side. But hey, let's
I'm,
get into it. Let's chop it
it's a
up.
book club. We need more
Yeah,
fodder.
exactly. I don't think so. I think we as authors and readers will continue to as authors want to create and capture and create the content, capture and create the knowledge, and as readers consume it.
Mhm.
I think the mediums might change. I think maybe we get to more quote unquote soft books. So they're PDFs, they're markdown so that they can be more easily updated to stay up to date with the times.
Okay.
But I think like there's always a place for that knowledge that's never going to change, or it will rarely change over time. Because I say never change, but I mean stuff always changes, right?
Yeah. Change is constant.
Change is the only constant, right?
Yeah.
So there could be fundamentals that it doesn't matter what language you're using or what time of year, decade you're reading it. It's always going to be something useful that you can apply to whatever it is you're working on.
I agree. I 100% agree. Let me tell you something. I got some of these books up here that have been
Mm.
written. Let me tell said in Auk,
Yes,
that girl is not going anywhere.
nowhere.
I will
The
pull her out. There's a couple, like you said, some things remain constant.
yeah,
That they're the underpinnings of so much that we do.
yeah,
Uh, you can't change your foundation,
yeah.
right?
No,
You
it's
just have
it's
to
there.
build from it. So you're right. You're right. I
Yeah.
hope it never comes to that. But your assessment of maybe the formatting needs to change a little bit to be able to stay up to
Mhm.
date is definitely going to be key, because I love to read a good book.
Yeah, right.
So, all right,
Yeah. And
what else are we
well, I'll
talking
throw one in there too. Unix in a nutshell was my go-to when I first got out of college.
about? Hmm.
I read Unix in a nutshell from cover to cover. That's how I learned Vim. That's how I learned all of my CLI commands. And that is like a just like field manual that I still turn to this day if I need to find something. So Unix in a nutshell for sure.
There were a few of those books that I used throughout my time as a sysadmin that didn't
Mhm.
matter
Yeah.
that technology had changed. It didn't matter. Those books are still. I saw on LinkedIn someone had just bought this book. Now, mind you, it has not been updated, but it is such
Mhm.
a Bible. It's the book about Linux that has like the ship on the front, and it has all these words on it. It says something about systems administration.
Mhm.
I got rid of my copy. I feel terrible that I did. But it's so funny that someone just bought this book, and I was just
Wow.
like, see, that will the underpinnings never change. So
Yeah.
it's great that people can go back and kind of pick up and bring it forward. So
Yes, indeed. So, on that note, we will continue to move forward into chapter 12, how Python
Lord help.
integrates with infrastructure as code concepts. I was excited for this chapter. I got some good stuff out of it.
Oh, good.
Um, yeah. So I'm okay-ish happy with this. Um, And I'll just start with a quote. I've got notes all over the place here, but
Good.
the quote for this one is, "Never measure the height of a mountain until you have reached the top. Then you will see how low it was." And this is from Dag Hammarskjöld, a Swedish economist. I can't read today, folks. A Swedish economist and diplomat who served as the second Secretary General of the United Nations from April 1953 until September 1961.
Right.
So we kind of had some discourse before we jumped into the studio about what this quote means. And I kind of took it to mean, a couple different things, maybe. Some people might not want to get into infrastructure as code. So they kind of see it as this mountain that they have to climb. But once they start using it, they're like, oh man, my life is so much better now that I have all of my resources codified and I can apply them in different ways, in different environments, and I can tear it down, I can build it back up again, and it's easy. So that mountain wasn't so high after all.
That's a great synopsis of the quote. I agree with you. Remember, I said, I was like, I'm not sure. I mean, I get what he's saying. And then you explained it. I'm like, okay, I feel that. I feel that. All right.
Yeah. Another thing, I'll quote the author on this as he got started on the chapter. And it captured one of my favorite words, penultimate. And I think you should never, ever miss an opportunity to use penultimate, which means next to last. Basically, that's all it means.
Yeah.
But that is such a
chapter.
It's the penultimate chapter of the book. So, and that's what he says. So as we approach this penultimate chapter, we get to this topic of infrastructure as code. So I never miss an opportunity to use the word penultimate if I possibly can, if it makes sense to the conversation. So if you hear me, folks that are listening, if you catch me in conversation and I say penultimate, just look at me sideways, because I'm just trying to use a word that I rarely ever get a chance to use. That's what it is.
You know what my word is?
What's that?
Crestfallen.
Crestfallen. That's a good one too.
I never miss an opportunity to use that word.
Yeah.
If you have a word, put it in the chat. I'd like so I can add it to my lexicon. Gone. Let me. Everybody has that one word or two words.
One word they love to use, but they never, rarely if ever get a chance to pull it out. Okay, but anyway, back to the subject at hand. Let's see. Well, I guess bringing, some definition to infrastructure as code, and quoting the author here, he's saying it's resource creation, provisioning, and updating that are standardized in the form of code with constants and variables arranged in an organized way, so you can standardize the replication of resources, making things such as backups, failovers, redeployments, and a whole lot of other operations activities easier.
Yes.
And I love it. Yeah, it's code, but it's the stuff. It's not the software. It's the hardware, if you want to think about it like that. And some configuration, and I guess we can kind of get into that with some of the examples that he has. But I appreciate infrastructure as code for standing up all my resources in clouds, Google Cloud, AWS, Azure. So I'm not clicking around in the console. I can just run a couple commands on the CLI and bam, I got my servers, my databases, my load balancers, buckets, APIs, anything, you name it, you can code it up and you got it.
And now with the advent of Amazon Q or any other AI tool that you can plug into your code editor, writing AIC has become so easy. Yes. It has become, now I will say this, and I'm going to let you get back to this chapter because you had more notes on it than I did. But when it comes to using AI as a tool, it is just that. But be sure to use it as a teacher. Don't let it be just, I'm just going to drop this in and it's going to work and I'm not going to understand the underpinnings or whatever. I always said that you have to know the nuts and bolts, not just the framework, but the underpinnings, because if something goes wrong, you have gained the knowledge to figure it out and understand it and troubleshoot it, as opposed to not going really deep in something. So again, I am waxing poetic. I'm gonna let you.
I totally agree.
Have a lot of thoughts that this chapter just brings to mind. That's all. But I'm gonna let you have it.
Yeah, no doubt. So he goes into a discussion for either Python libraries or tools that can be used for infrastructure as code, Salt or Salt Stack, Ansible, and Terraform SDK. Out of these three tools, I'm very familiar with Ansible, very familiar with Terraform, not necessarily the Terraform SDK. I've heard about Salt and Salt Stack, but I never applied it. I always worked in environments that used Chef or Puppet, which are Ruby-based configuration management tools. Salt being similar type of tool, configuration management and provisioning tool, but Python-based. So I did work through the examples that he gave. I had to do a little bit, I guess, funkier install for my Salt setup. It wasn't as simple as saying, apt install Salt or whatever it was. I had to add some libraries and updates and whatever on a Ubuntu server. But I got it to run and everything was working. I didn't use a minion. I just used one server that was my management server and my minion. And I guess that's one difference that I will call out between these two tools, Salt and Ansible, which are very similar, both Python-based configuration management tools. But Salt requires a management server to interact with minions that are registered to the server. So that they talk over this service, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas Ansible is, it doesn't require a management server. You can have the concept of a management server, but yes, it is agentless because it talks over SSH or maybe even some other protocol.
WinRM if it's Windows.
Yes, exactly. So it doesn't require the target system to have any sort of configuration on it to be a part of its management capability. Love Ansible for that. So that's kind of like been my go-to for systems that require configuration after they're deployed. And honestly, like one of my just like go-to approaches, one of my MOs is to deploy stuff with Terraform and Terraform proper, like full-on HCL code. And then once I've got all my resources there, use Ansible to configure them. And that's just like, it's like the 1-2 punch, right? It's a total knockout.
Yes.
You
already know my opinions about those things. I always said Terraform and Ansible are better together.
Yes.
Full stop. Yes. I'm sorry. You keep saying minions, and I'm laughing every time because the stupid stuff makes me laugh. So
yeah, we know minions as cartoon characters, but they can also be servers. It's cool. Salt Stack, the example that he gave, it was I'm trying to think if he wrote a custom thing for, I guess I could go back to the chapter and check. He did write a custom module for Ansible. I did go through that example. There were, let's see, there were some issues that I had with this one. First of all, there's no code for chapter 12 in the repository. There's code in the book. There is not a folder for chapter 12 in the repo. Maybe it didn't make it. I don't know what the case is. So I had to either, cut and paste or, just type it in or whatever the case was. There was for the Ansible demonstration, there was a playbook call for the custom module. So basically walks you through the steps to write a custom module for Ansible using Python. Totally cool. Yeah. It made sense for it. However, the playbook code and the script name don't align. So it's like maybe one was written before or after the other. And the quick fix there is just to make the playbook agree with the script or make the script agree with the playbook. And so once I got that fixed, I was able to get it going. They were both good examples. Salt, I had to do a little bit of some command line gymnastics to get Salt installed. After that, everything was great. Cool. Ansible, I just had to copy the code from the book directly and then make the playbook match. After that, everything was good. The Terraform CDK example, it was straightforward, fairly straightforward. I think I might have had to do some installations. He did say you had to have Terraform installed. You had to have some other stuff installed for that.
Right.
And then even when you do the CDK TF init for Python, it requires its own dependencies on the pip env. So you have to go back and install that thing. Okay. Once I got all that done, I did the init. And I didn't deploy anything with this example. I just ran the CDKTF deploy
Okay.
just to kind of see how it worked. And if you don't have any resources in a Terraform thing, it's going to say, hey, this run was successful because I didn't deploy anything, or you didn't ask me to deploy anything. So it's fine. I hesitated to do anything with this because I'm more inclined to just write HCL for my Terraform. I'm not going to code it up in Python, to be honest. The only, I guess, approach that I could think of, so I appreciated the example and demonstration for what it was, is, and I think we talked about this in a previous episode, where if you have some stupid, crazy business case where you have to do something dynamically or like totally different, where it's based on some sort of business logic code, and so you're codifying decisions in your deployment, maybe then I could say, okay, let me use Python to do it, because you can't. Terraform is not a dynamic language. It's very deterministic in the point that you tell it, hey, I want this many servers, this many databases, and I want them to look like this. You don't dynamically say, well, if today is Wednesday and I'm deploying, then I only want 3 servers, but you could do that if you're doing it in Python, right? So if it's something funky like that, maybe I would use like a software development kit for Terraform through Python. Otherwise, I would probably just leave it alone, to be honest.
The right tool for the job.
Yeah, right tool for the job.
Well,
please go ahead.
I was going to say how he tied up the end of the chapter, and he did mention that this was a more serious chapter than maybe some we had seen in the past, because infrastructure as code is such a serious topic. And that's what he said. It's powerful, and it can be the solution to a lot of problems in the application of DevOps principles. And that was very spot on. I thought he tied that up very well. Again, this chapter could have been much more. This book could have been a tome had he, maybe expanded on some of these examples. But not the worst examples I've seen. I like that. It would have been nice if they were included in the repo. So maybe he'll get a chance to put those in there at some point, because that's an easy way to keep things up to date. But other than that, I didn't hate chapter 12. I thought it was it did what it did. It explained what it explained, and we got through it.
We did indeed. So MLOps, DataOps, and infrastructure as code.
Yeah.
With or without Python, it's up to you. But Python touches a lot of these different areas with the tools.
And that's the takeaway. Really, throughout this book, does it have to be Python? No, but the sheer fact that it can be, that's impressive.
Yes, indeed.
That's impressive.
But so as we, I guess, winding down, I wanted to just shout out a couple folks that commented.
Please.
We didn't capture any comments as we were going through live. So I just wanted to shout out the folks that were following us live. We got Mike joining us from Dallas, Texas. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Shout out to Tech Coach Ralph, letting us know it's definitely a good afternoon. And then we got DB Daryl joining us as well.
I love that name.
Good, my man. I know, right? All about the databases. And then random LinkedIn user. Sorry that the tool didn't capture your name.
I know.
But we were glad that you joined us as well. Oh, okay. Thanks for joining us, Lanai. Appreciate it. And let's see, DB Daryl, we were talking about the AI models, talking about ChatGPT, and he's saying Claude is sitting on the bench saying, put me in, coach. I could do it.
Just sitting on the bench.
Right.
And the other LinkedIn user, his name is LaRon, and he is a hoot.
All right, LaRon. Thanks for joining us.
Always.
Talking about SED and awk still look like hieroglyphs to me. Let me tell you, if you can read and interpret regular expressions as they apply to SED, awk, and Perl, you are on a whole nother level.
You are.
Regular expressions, sometimes those look bananas to me. But AI is also another good tool that you can lean on to say, hey, AI, I need to process data that looks like this. Can you please write me a regular expression that I can use? And
that's where we are now.
Yeah, as a starting point, because nobody got time to be writing all these regexes anymore.
Time for that. But again, I say, sometimes knowing the fundamentals is not a bad thing. But I will chat GPT / perplexity / I will be all, but girl, help me out, please.
No doubt.
It is
no
a
doubt.
tool. It is definitely a tool. So what do we got next?
Next up is chapter 13, the tools to take your DevOps to the next level. So the author is saying we're going to take everything that we've learned from the previous chapters and raise it to a higher level. So I'm excited to see what we got setting up for us. And I'll be ready to dive into the code. Maybe we'll get a couple examples out of it.
Okay.
And we'll see what we got.
Level up. I'm excited about next week. And unfortunately, that's the end of the book. Like, what's up, bro?
Yeah, that will be because this is the penultimate episode. It's the penultimate chapter that we just went through. See what I did there? Yeah, we will be landing this season in the next episode. If you're joining us live, we're taking a break next week. We're actually going to be not next week proper, but the week after that, because you might see me at Afrotech next week. So if you're in Houston, Texas, holler at your boy and maybe we can connect there.
Sadly, I won't be there this year.
Oh man. I'm gonna miss you. All right. Maybe render ATL in 2026. Maybe I'll catch you there.
Maybe the tickets are on sale. I don't know.
They are.
Maybe.
They are indeed. Yeah.
We'll
have to put those links in the show notes too for the folks that want to catch up. But in the meantime, you can catch us on YouTube, Cover the Code. Catch us on LinkedIn, #Cover the Code. We are all over the place, y'all. And I just enjoy chopping up with you, Angela, chopping it up with the folks that join us live. And so I will be chomping at the bit to get back here into the studio and talk about the last chapter in this book.
I am so excited. This is definitely, I love this. We have so much fun here. I love the interaction in the chat. Even when people are, I saw, I like when you talk about this, even if they're watching it after the fact, someone will message me or something. So I do appreciate each and every one of y'all that just rides with us week in and week out. Doesn't matter the book. Because what we're doing is coming from a place of love and fun, and because we like what we're doing here. But thank you for joining us.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Awesome.
Bye.
See y'all.